Hi. Everybody, the movie begins on the planet of Yautja Prime, where every living being is a threat to one another, and they have to constantly hunt to survive. Dek reaches a beach and finds remnants of his brother. He gets inside a cave and announces that he can sense his brother. He soon figures that his brother Ki is just behind him, invisible, and attacks him. They get into a sword fight, but Ki says that Dek is still not strong enough to stand against him. But Dek is not ready to give up that easily, as he wants to be the one to hunt Kalisk, the apex predator on planet Genna. Even their father Didier is scared of it, and anyone who hunts it down will be able to win his approval as the next clan leader. Their fight intensifies and Ki makes Dek fall off a cliff, but Dek has survived and says that he isn't ready to give up yet. Ki is happy to see his brother's resilience, and they start their fight again. After that, both brothers get back to their dorm. Ki tells him that he still remembers the day his little brother saved his life. He then asks Dek to follow him, and he does. Ki then says that it's time for Dek to take his vow and select a prey that he will hunt down and bring back to his planet. All his ancestors did it before him to be a part of the clan, and if he fails to do so, then he will never be allowed back on the planet. He picks the planet Genna and wants to hunt down Kalisk. But Ki says that even their father fears it, and losing would mean death. Dek says that their father thinks that he is the weakest of them all, but he will prove him wrong by hunting down the strongest predator. Ki tries to stop him, but Dek says that he has already taken his vows, and Ki can't stop him. Soon a ship lands on the planet, and the clan leader Didier comes out of it. Dek welcomes him with pride. But he says that Dek is the weakest of them all and must be eliminated. Ki says that Dek has taken a vow to hunt Kalisk, but Didier laughs it off and says that they should have killed him long ago. He then orders Ki to kill Dek and traps him by sucking his powers. Ki slowly approaches his brother and takes out his sword to finish Dek, but he suddenly cuts off his chains and throws him inside the ship. He then fights against his own father to keep Dek safe, but Didier is too strong and cuts off Ki's arm as Dek watches helplessly. Ki slowly crawls back, and Didier says that he has shown incredible weakness by trying to protect his brother. He can reach for his sword, but instead he grabs his chopped arm. Didier grabs him, but just then Ki uses his arm to depart Dek for Genna. Dek watches in horror as Didier beheads Ki right in front of his eyes. The ship moves on. Dek is flown away and later falls unconscious as the ship has entered the orbit of Genna and is about to crash. He wakes up and the ship is rapidly falling. He manages to eject himself and lands with a terrible impact, but manages to survive. He is frustrated with anger and sets down his weapons to test them. After tasting all of it one by one, an alien bird sits behind him, eventually taken away by a tree tentacle. He hears it but sees no one. He steps quietly, but soon the tentacles attack him and take away his weapon. He brings his sword out, but one grabs his hand. He is then pulled away as he uses his arrow to shoot it down. He somehow grabs hold of his sword and survives. He sees all around him are the tentacles. A constant fight follows, and he somehow climbs over them to finally jump to a cliff where the tentacles can't reach. Later, he scans some leaves to use them as medicines on his wound. Then he notices a worm over a leaf, but after picking it up, it begins to swell. He throws it away and the worm explodes. He then reaches a grassland where a bunch of cacti with spikes begins to bulge. He steps back and it turns back to normal. He tiptoes through the land while from far away someone calls for him. She speaks in a language he doesn't understand. Soon she manages to tune the universal translation and asks if it's better. Just then, a bigger alien bird is seen flying as she warns him it's not good. It drops a stone on the land and the cactuses burst. He ducks down to get saved from the spikes, but it regenerates. She says she can help him, but needs a hand. He does not care to listen, but she knows that he is here to hunt down the Kalisk. Dek begins to run, but one of spikes eventually hits him. He is about to get unconscious while the girl says she has the antidote. If he had a weapon, she could help him. He finally gets his blade out and throws it to her. She struggles to get hold, and Dek falls senseless while the alien rushes at him. But at the last moment, the girl saves him, eventually finishing the bird. Dek wakes up and she shows how the leaf is used as an antidote. He pulls her up and sees that half her body is gone. She says she is a synthetic named Thia. She was deployed by a corporation from planet Earth for research. He drops her. She says that many alga had come for the Kalisk, but nobody survived. She has survived it, so if he takes her along with her, she will guide him to its den. He doesn't give in, and then she further says that she can be useful to him as she has already shown. He feels she can be a good tool and takes her away. He passes the cliff, throws her over, and continues walking as she keeps asking him his name and telling him about herself, but he doesn't care. They pass through a dangerous canyon where some eel-like creatures attack them. Thia has got a hold of some sticky seeds. She says she can pet them and throws those behind to distract the aliens. They proceed and Thia continues speaking as he drops her. He uses the tree roots to tie a knot and grabs Thia on his back. He finally tells her his name. As the night falls, they sit up by a cave with Dek making a light off his own body. She talks about how she got here. She was sent here along with another synthetic named Tessa on a mission, but they got separated by Kalisk's attack. There were other robots as well, but she says she and Tessa are specially equipped. Unlike other synthetics, they have higher intelligence and sensitivity. Dek says sensitivity is a weakness. Meanwhile, Tessa's half-broken body is rescued by the corporation. She is then slowly fixed. She wakes up and the system tells her that if she fails her mission again, she will be deactivated. She asks about Thia. The system responds that Thia is with Yautja, who is a potential threat. The two then reach a land filled with razor grass. Over there is a bone bison that is Kayla's food. Dek decides to hunt them down himself, but gets stabbed by razor grass. Thia sees a creature in the tree and realizes they want to hunt it as well. It soon jumps down and gets into the grass. The bisons begin to run away. Dek follows through the trees to keep tracking them. He trips, but just in the nick of time manages to stop. A bison passes them and he jumps over it. They get knocked over by a tree while the small creature takes the lead. Dek attacks him and a fight begins between them. The creature, despite its size, fights so well. However, Dek gets him in a chokehold as Thia warns them that the bison is coming running towards him. It opens its strange mouth as Dek throws his weapon so precisely to completely tear it in half. And just then, the tree tentacles grab them and take them up. It almost takes them into its mouth while the creature comes for rescue. It uses its shield to protect itself from a bite, breaking its teeth. They fall and are saved. The tentacle monster chases them again, and they keep on running. The creature passes through the razor grasses, and the monster follows it. Dek cuts off a tree nearby and jumps over it. The monster grabs hold of the creature. With the tree falling, Dek gets the momentum to fall on the monster's back and tears him off with his sword. Meanwhile, Tessa finds the debris of Dek's ejectile along with his blood. She is with her full team who fight the tentacles with ease and eventually torch them down. At night, the three sit together to eat the bison meat. Thia is excited that they're now a trio, but Dek doesn't give any food to the small creature whom Thia named Bud. Thia asks Dek what his favorite part of the hunt was, and he responds when he killed it, and its blood came sprawling out. He then offers her some food, but she doesn't eat any. He disinterestedly hands it to Bud, who soon spits at him, making him furious. Thia says she is marking him as her clan mate, but Dek isn't interested in that. She asks if he never had a friend, and Dek tells her about his brother. He tells her the incident, and he is here for the Kalisk. She then remembers Tessa once more, and Dek calls her sister, which impresses Thia, hearing it for the first time. She says she needs to find her and Dek roasts her, saying she also needs to find her legs. At night, Dek prepares his bed and Bud copies his actions. Tessa finds the remains of Dek's ships and begins to investigate. She finds a bunch of his weapons and a handful of grenades that freeze her fingers. The next morning they are about to leave, but Bud is not there, and Thia is not willing to leave without her. He doesn't listen to her and grabs her to get going. They reach a fountain and find a Kalisk tooth. Thia doesn't speak to him, and he calls her a useless tool. Thia replies that Bud saved their lives and wanted him as part of her family. He doesn't listen until she asks why his father killed his brother. He replies that it's because his brother was protecting him. He was the weakest among them, and there can be no weakness in the clan. But now he will show them strength by hunting down the Kalisk. She then tells him the stories of wolves found on planet Earth who hunt in packs. The leader is the strongest, but it never hunts. Its job is to protect the pack. Dek says he will be the leader that kills the most, and they begin their journey again. After some time, they reach Thia's previous corporation center, which is situated just near the Kali den and was destroyed by it. Soon they find her legs. They find her chamber and he lays her over the bed along with her legs. She sets up everything by herself. Soon she establishes a connection with the legs. Dek tells her now he is going to hunt down the Kalisk. He will return home, take revenge, and she will be the first one to see his trophy. However, Thia has sent her team her location. She has come to know that they are going to kill December. She tells him that he needs to leave immediately. Apparently their company is after the Kalisk as well and would never let him get to that. Dek, being frustrated, gets out by himself. Thia begins to join her body. Outside, Dek finds a line of gas and sets it on fire. An explosion occurs and it calls in the Kalisk. Thia realizes the incoming danger. The case comes before December. He roars at it and the Kalisk roars back. Thia's legs are being sewn as she sees Dek being thrown away. His sword is cut in half. He makes himself a shield and runs at the Kalisk, distracting him with a guard. He cuts him down. Then he cuts off its tail, but soon enough it regenerates and grabs him. Thia is almost finished with her legs, but just then Dek is thrown at her. He is taken away again, about to be gulped down, but manages to cut its tongue. Thia, split once again, begins to crawl to her legs, but an obstacle is blocking her way. She soon finds a gun nearby. Dek is struggling with the Kalisk as Thia begins to shoot at it. Dek gets out a chain and throws it at its mouth and pulls it in. He runs to take this gun and shoots at the creature. He traps the tail of the Kalisk and gets on it. Then he jumps at its throat and splits it from the body. However, not long before the two eventually join back. It attacks him again, but before biting him off, it smells something and stops. Just at the moment, Tessa and her team arrive and freeze the Kalisk up along with December. The team is on its way to the facility. Dek wakes up being tied up. Tessa is beside him, and Thia is there unconscious. She scans him and already knows all his information from Thia's log, but he never told her why his brother protected him. He curses at her, but she says he is now the property of their corporation. Tessa then wires Shia, and it wakes her up. She is very happy to see her and is all excited to tell her everything she saw, but Tessa doesn't seem very curious. She then sees Dek tied up. Tessa says they have also caught the Kalisk and luckily got an additional catch. She then proceeds to inject something into Dek. Thia says that Yautja is not an ideal specimen. Its technology is valuable, so they can just take his weapons and let him go. Tessa says they still need a sample, shuts him in, and turns on the extraction. Thia shut down the system herself. Tessa approaches her and says that this is their job. But Thia says that they can be more than what they are asked for. They can be sisters. Tessa asks if she knows why they are given feelings, and Thia says it is to understand the creatures of this planet better. Tessa replies so they can exploit them. She still defends Dek, saying he saved her life just like she had. Tessa says she hasn't come to rescue her. She is just completing their mission. Now they must get rid of the weak to rectify previous mistakes, and she is the weak one. She asks a member to box her up. Tessa leaves, and one robot approaches December. Dek says he hates them, and while she talks to him, one of the robots asks why she is speaking their language, realizing he doesn't understand. She orders him to grab one of his weapons nearby. Dek instructs her to say it is a map. She says so, and it leads to his own destruction. Tessa hears the sound. Fire releases him, and Tessa arrives with the robots. Thia opens the gate and he jumps off the vehicle. The others take Thia away. Dek rolls off a cliff and falls into a river. The vehicles have reached the corporation. Dek has gotten himself up and reached his ship. He finds a healer with which he fixes his wound. He lashes out in anger and accidentally turns the ship's system on. He walks in and finds his brother's mask. He goes out, takes the razor grasses, the venomous leaves, a creature's teeth, the cactus spikes, and the eels. On his return, he sees Bud sitting over a footprint of a Kalisk. He realizes that Bud is a Kai's child. He spits at him. He returns to the ship to see Thia's legs. He releases the obstacles, and the leg begins to walk to the other half. Thia is captured inside the box. One of the guards is attacked. It's Dek who has returned with all his weaponry. The leg walks on among the guards who are put down by Dek and Bud. Tessa tells the system that the alga is dead. It responds, then the alga is no longer a threat while Dek continues his killing spree. One robot goes to check Thia while her legs are slowly approaching, but turns away before he sees it. Soon it jumps over him and forces him for the eye print. The lid opens, she tears the head off, and seeing others come in, it falls dead again. They arrive and see Thia unconscious. Dek finishes off the robots, eventually feeding them to the tentacles. Thia opens her eyes and her legs attack the guard. She jumps on the other one. Together they fight off the soldiers and eventually finish them. Tessa sees the Kalisk is being transported in its box. Dek reaches into Thia's trunk as a guard holds his gun behind him. But Thia soon finishes him off. She smiles, hearing that he came to protect her. He reminds her of wolves. He shows her his self-made mask and then shows that Bud is actually a Kai's child. She asks what the plan is, and he says she has to free the Kalisk, and he will get his trophy. He buzzes the alarm. Tessa orders a takeoff within 20 minutes and prepares for the battle with the guards. Thia and Bud watch them from far, and she says she has a plan. All the guards reach Dek sitting alone. He has set traps with the alien eels as they spit at them, and the explosions occur ending the robots. From behind comes Tessa operating a huge robot. She points the lasers of the Yautja weapon stolen from their ship at his head, but just before the shot, the eel jumps and protects him from the blow. Dek roars at her as the machine proceeds and attacks him. Dek grabs a pole to attack, but doesn't work much. The tentacle samples come out, and he ducks as it grabs the machine. He jumps over it, but is soon yanked away. Thia reaches the key to open it, but her eye prints don't work when a guard approaches her. She immediately turns one of her eyes blank and attends to him as Tessa. She tells him to go look for Dek, but he responds that she has asked them to prepare for takeoff. Soon Bud comes there and she knocks the man down. She says they need his eyes. Dek hides behind a cart. Tessa takes them off one by one, but Dek is clinging to it, and before she sees him, he jumps on her. She shuts herself inside, but just then the Kalisk jumps over them. A face-off between the two emerges. Tessa holds it with its huge cutter. Meanwhile, Dek cuts off the wires of the machine. She throws the freeze bomb at the Kalisk, but Dek throws his pole to direct it towards the machine's cutter, freezing it and releasing Dek along with the Kalisk. Another face-off begins as the Kalisk get the cutter out of its body. It then attacks the machine violently and breaks it. Thia takes Dek up. The Kalisk reaches to finish Tessa, who is stuck to her seat. Her laser points at it as the Kalisk eat her up. She then slowly approaches the other three. Bud reaches her and they reunite. Dek then goes to her and touches her face, asserting his friendship. However, just then something begins to happen inside of her. Smokes come out of her nose. Thia realizes the weapon has ejected inside her. The Kalisk's body begins to get burned up. It soon freezes, and the whole body explodes. They're all thrown away. Thia wakes up and sees Tessa far away. She's not in her right state anymore. She points her laser at her, but before she can shoot, Dek finishes her off. He snatches back his weapon but celebrates with her head. She tells him he is a winner now, but Dek says not yet. Dek returns to his planet and reaches his clan. His father comes out and asks if he is here for revenge. Dek drops the head of Tessa and says he needs his cloak. George says he humiliated the clan, and a couple of Yautjas prepare to attack him. He takes them and manages to finish them off. Then he begins a battle with Jor. Jor knocks him down and uses his transparency power to battle him, but Dek somehow grabs hold of him and tears off his hand. He then ties him up and takes off his mask. Jor then says perhaps the right son did survive. He should yield now and take his place in the clan. However, Dek replies that he has his own clan now. Soon from behind, Bud, now grown a bigger click, eats his head off. From behind comes Thia. He finally gets the cloak and wears it on himself. She congratulates him for it, and he roars in pride when suddenly they notice a huge ship is flying towards them. He says it's his mother. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.